You all get the idea. Slash, everyone, what can we say? Guns N' Roses changed my life. Obviously, Far Too Fast, Sweet Child of Mine solo, slightly butchered, but hey, come on, you got to go for it, haven't you? Grip it and rip it, as I'd say. So, I just want to talk about the two albums that absolutely blew me away. First being, obviously, Appetite for Destruction, but it was Use Your Illusion 2. I remember being a kid and someone bringing a cassette for all you Gen Z's, Y's, whatever you are. So it's an age-old tech there. Had a little label on it saying parental advisory. Now back then, very innocent times. It wasn't like now where you've all got, all these games you all play online at Grand Theft Auto and just blowing each other up and lobbing heads off left, right and centre. Very innocent times back then. So to get something that said parental advisory, you were like, oh, let's have a listen. And I remember fast forwarding through whatever, but I think he wanted to it was a particular song, that one. Something like that. Come on! Get in the ring! But then obviously you had the part with the Bob God, you only do it, and you start saying all the horrendous stuff. I remember listening to that and we're all just listening, oh my God, and he's cursing all over the place. It's brilliant. Anyway, I digress. I get so excited. I used to love that. Another huge thing that happened was that song. That's the bass. And then you've got the whole coming in. Oh, you know what that is? You Could Be Mine. And the octave below it. Oh, what a sound. Terminator 2, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I shouldn't shout. That was in Terminator 2, the bit where he's riding on the bike. Oh, and again, what a sound. It defined an age before the whole Nirvana thing. Well, no, it was probably the same time. Either way, it was still epic. But, yeah, huge effect. However, I just want to talk about what I actually learned from a practice point of view. Now, I used to, because I loved the songs, I'd learn them. I went back and did Appetite for Destruction, everyone. Obviously, classic album, wall-to-wall hits. And I remember playing, obviously, the Paradise City. Is that on that one? I think it is. Sorry. Welcome to the Jungle, and obviously Sweet Child of Mine. In the covers bands in my teens, but I used to use Sweet Child of Mine specifically for a practice session with myself. I just sit there, and I'd actually work on a specific technique, which was the double picking type stuff at the time, where you're doing, two notes doubling each note, like this kind of thing. Because I'd learned, obviously, very early on, the Paul Gilbert kind of thing with the alternate picking, so I was good at the sixes, nines, and threes, and groups and stuff like that, which I've done all in my old videos. But then to go like, I was really struggling with. So I was just working on the mechanics, and I ended up just literally taking the riff. Everyone knows the riff, but instead of focusing there, I'd move it around and work on different areas of the neck. So I'd actually sit there and sort of play the song to myself like this. I'd imagine it. And I'd just literally sit there and just imagine it in my head, and then eventually play along with the record. But I'd be too lazy. I'd play it here. I couldn't be bothered tuning my guitar down, so everything will be a fret down pretty much. You get the idea. Taking something that's a musical composition, rather than sitting there and doing the whole, like you're... John Petrucci, I'll get to him. Again, huge influence. But I wouldn't like the idea of just practicing, like specifically say an exercise. I'd have it in a musical context. And the great thing there is you can have the song on and just try and play from start to finish and give yourself breaks of just playing the chords. Idea, and then everyone wins. It's concurrent activity. You're learning, practicing as you're playing along with your song. And then when I'd burn myself out a little bit, I'd be like, oh, I'll just go into the chords and just play along, and then try and play along with the solos as well. But that was a nightmare. Anyway, so it was actually Sweet Child of Mine specifically that made me think, I'm going to practice this actual technique and work it along with the song. And the other thing that I will cover in a future video, I'll do a proper how I've how I warm up, and then I'll do another one where my current road back to my technique, how long I've spent just trying to get it all back, and it's still rusty. I know I can hide it a little bit, but you should see me when I first pick it up. I'm like, oh god, it's a nightmare. It takes me a little while to even get them moving again. I feel like I've still got my boxing wraps on or something. I'm like, oh. Anyway, enough excuses. So another thing is I did actually, I still do, I use one of the tracks. It's one of my favourite songs ever, sheerly because of the intro vibe. And it's the, that's not where it goes. playing it far too fast and a little bit sloppy as well. But it's that riff. Ugh. But what I always do is I actually just try and work it, because it's a very awkward phrase, isn't it? This whole... And to just go through it constantly, especially on the low strings, I use it, I play along with it, and then I've got a little app thing where I can speed it up and actually just work through it, and you get to play along with it a couple of times and warm your hand up. But I love that riff. You get the idea. Anyway, Slash, everyone. Guns N' Roses. What can we say? Absolute living legend. And I'll do all of his solos in the future. I'm sort of wading through everything currently, so I'll get round to it. But again, biggest thing with Slash is the big pentatonic areas. Oh, another thing I'll just tell you, because I used to have these. my buddy Aaron, very very big time producer now, but he was a huge Slash fan, and I was obviously Paul Gilbert fan. So here's me doing the whole. And I'm like, it all has to be precise, you know, and everything has to be cleanly perfect, groups and sixes. And he's like, nah, man, nah. And he had his hair, you know, and he'd be like, nah, man, you just gotta have your Gibson, man. All you gotta do is pentatonic area, and you just use and then you just use these notes here. And he came up with a ratio. He's like, nah, man, all it is, man, you gotta open your legs, something like that. You just gotta do like one. I think pick one in every 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 or something like that. And he's like, nah, man, you just do those men and go. And he did it. He did it in a Bon Jovi. Oh, no, not Bon Jovi. What was it? No, was it Bon Jovi or Guns N' Roses cover band he had? And I remember he's doing it like, wah! And he's playing those notes like that, and it's so loud. It's like he's like, no one can tell the difference anyway, man. What are you doing? All of that crap. It's like, nah, you don't need any of that. Just go, wah! And he's right. To be fair, half of the time that's correct. When you're playing to the majority of normal people, no one can tell the difference anyway. And I still know that, especially with. I got really into. I'm rambling now. I apologise, but there's a guitarist as well in the gypsy jazz circuit. He's actually just as a jazz guitarist and guitarist in general, Bureli Legren, like one of the best ever. But I remember playing playing some of his stuff. I showed a performance, you know, like to a mate of mine who was a very accomplished musician. And he was like, "Oh God, he's awful. He's making mistakes all over the place." And he's like, oh God, they get, especially when it gets to jazz, they get that good that to the majority of people. Like, you start off with the whole, I'm just going to play a little bit outside, you know what I mean? And then you play a bit more outside of the box, man. And then you're like, yeah, forget the box. Let's just play outside all the time. And then the rest of the audience are going, oh man, he's awful. Good old days. Anyway, have I rambled on long enough? Yeah. Okay, so Slash, everyone. Let's all hail the king, and I'll cover everything, everything of major value to me that I took from him in the future. Badly. But hey, come on, you've got to give me a break here. Right, let's leave it there. I've rambled on too long enough. Thank you very much for following. What a laugh. 5,000. Thank you so much. Whoa, let's go.